Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs post-game show podcast presented by PointsBet. Use the promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. Cubs win 6-5 over the Pirates. The final 12 games of the season are underway. The dirty dozen, as I like to call it, and the push to 70 is still alive, as is Ryan's prediction of what, 77?
77 and 85.
Still possible. 4 straight wins.
Look at
4
us.
straight wins. And what was the stat they showed at the broadcast right before I turned off the TV? Something about 1989 is the last time they had this many consecutive one-run wins on the road. 4 in a row.
Yeah. I did see that.
We're searching for anything to hang on.
Historic.
Remember all those one-run losses at the beginning of the year? You know, maybe we're finally getting some back. Just that they picked a hell of a time to pick win, but you know.
Yeah. I mean, what Miggy's slogan was hashtag we are good. I don't know what it'd be now, but it may be something like hashtag we're less bad.
We're less bad. Hashtag we're whatever. We're
working on it.
We're working
on it. Hashtag under construction.
Hashtag look out next year.
Yeah, right. Where were you guys in your homes for the Esteban Quiroz game? Huh? Wow. Let's just get who you got over with. Because the only question remaining, really, I mean, this podcast could be over in a few minutes. The only question left is, are Cody and I tied now? Are Cody and I tied? Is that a 3-point? Is that a 3-pointer? As I called the shot, I called Bank Quiroz 3-point winner, and he hit it, man. Wow. 2 for 4, a walk, a spectacular play. He puts him ahead twice in the game. Where were you for the Esteban Quiroz game?
While I disagree that you should get triple points, as you said in Slack, for picking Quiroz,
but it was a pre-called move. That was the cool part about it, right? Like I didn't say it after the game started. I said it when I picked him. I said I ought to get triple points if that's hits.
Well, I never agreed to that, but I'll give you the
no one here agreed to it.
I'll give you the single point.
Cody was trying to get quadruple points for taking Hermosillo, so I don't know about that.
I will give you.
I was just playing along with the joke.
Esteban Quiroz, good game.
Wow.
You win, Stucky. Take the point. I think Cody might still be up by what did you say? A couple points, something like that.
I'm up by 2. It's 22 to 20. If everyone's closing in on me, will I be the 2019 Cubs? Stick around and find out, guys.
Are we gonna throw these in over the weekend? Like, are we gonna these next 2 weekends put in our picks?
I'll take Hap tomorrow.
Well, you don't know if he's gonna be in the line. Okay, you can have Hap because you don't know for sure if he's even in the lineup.
Who's pitching tomorrow?
I don't know. I'll try to get a pick in tomorrow. If we can all get the picks in, we'll do it.
I'm okay with that.
Cody has no motivation to do that because there's only 11 games left, and we're kind of scratching. It's going to take
I'll play.
Like Esteban Quiroz to get it done for anybody.
I will play. I'll be fair. If everyone throws one in and I remember, yes.
Yeah. If you don't remember, if me and Luke do it, we're in, and if you don't do it, then ours still count.
I'm going to do my best.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
I forgot. Sorry.
Do we want to make picks now just for an out? Like we can pick somebody else, but do we want to pick somebody just in case we don't pick somebody? Yeah. Like if I'm willing to take Hap for the weekend, but I might change that if I think of making a pick, which would make Hap, which would put Hap back in the pool.
Okay, I'll take
Miley.
Oh, you bastard! I was going to do that.
But that's not going to work for Sunday.
Oh, a weekend play.
I have to use the same guy.
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna talk between then, most likely. So it's like this guy would ride you for the weekend and let you change your pick.
So we're only getting 1 point for the weekend. Okay.
No, right. For each game. So I'm basically calling Hap for Saturday, Sunday.
So we have to choose a position player, basically.
Well, you don't have to, but
well, Wade Miley's not going to pitch on Sunday.
Relief pitcher. You could take Eric Ullman to get 3 straight saves.
What if like I pick? What if I pick who? I don't know who's pitching Sunday. What if I pick him, and then like all your 2 picks tomorrow are just terrible and don't deserve to win? Then like my Saturday guy would.
I don't think so. Like let's say you take Sampson is pitching Sunday.
Okay.
Let's say you take Sampson for both games. You would get Sampson for both games, but you still would have a chance to change your pick on Saturday at some point when the roster comes out. If you put it in Slack before the game starts, like, hey, I'm taking this guy instead of Sampson, then you only have Sampson for Sunday.
I got McKinstry.
I'll take Wisdom.
Okay, so we're Wisdom for Cody.
Wait, are you not taking Miley anymore?
No, because he's not going to pitch on Sunday. Like, if he shoves 7 innings down the Pirates' throats tomorrow, is that going to be enough to win for 2 whole days? I don't think so.
But Luke said
But I'm saying you could get up tomorrow morning and say, I'll take this guy instead of him on Sunday. Or on Sunday morning, you could get up and take Quiroz.
So you.
All right. Well, let's talk about it later because Fly the Dub is telling us to talk about the game.
This is important stuff. You think anybody wants to hear about anything else?
A picture. I need Fly the Dub to have a regular picture before I care. Okay, fine, whatever.
I'll be honest with you. I didn't. Before this week, I had never heard the name Esteban Quiroz in my life. We've had a couple of those this season where like anywhere in the farm system, like I'd never heard a prospects guy talk about somebody. I'd never heard somebody from Iowa say the guy's name. And that doesn't mean he wasn't being talked about, but like this is a pretty obscure name where I think in like 5 years, if we look back and say the Esteban Quiroz game, we'll all chuckle because otherwise we will a forgotten name. Like, will you ever see a jersey for him at a Cubs game?
When they're good, whether it's next year, maybe 2024, when they're like real good again, we'll look back here and think about, do you remember the Esteban Quiroz game? That's when we'll think about it. Because we'll think about how far the Cubs have came since we started this podcast or started CHGO, and then we'll be like, man, those were the days. It's basically how I think about Brian LaHair. So,
well, I remember with the Quiroz was the guy they got when they traded Harold Ramirez in spring training.
Wow.
Like that's how long I guess he's been in the system. So it's only been the year, but I also would say he's definitely was just one of those under the radar guys. Like, just maybe he wasn't a top prospect, so those weren't the updates you were looking for. He wasn't like one of these hitters that are just going yard every single game that you see the highlights from. It was just a guy that, maybe was having a decent season in the minors, but wasn't, just wasn't one of the guys that everyone is Googling or looking up, trying to ask questions about. But yeah, he had a great game. He's been solid since he came up. Putting the ball in play today. I mean, that nice one
defense.
Yeah. I mean, that play he had, what was that, in like the 7th inning maybe?
Yeah.
That diving play.
To keep it 5-4, he made a really nice play.
Yeah, it was after they went up. But I mean, he had the go-ahead hit and during that small ball rally the Cubs had too. Like, he had the one that just hit off the plate and nobody could get to in time. And then he had the go-ahead hit, the double to left field. I mean, it was a great game from him at the plate. And obviously he showed a little bit of the glove there too. I don't know how much what he does affects his place in the system. But I mean,
he's 30, so
good for him. The interview was, Taylor McGregor talking while his wife was excited about seeing herself on television and saying like he'd basically thought he was never going to he was going to just give up and say, I'm not going to make it to the majors. I'm not going to get my major league debut. And he was ready to give up. So for him to have a game like this, like, I hope they sort of celebrate it a little bit. Like, I'm not saying the guy's a part of Cubs history or anything crazy like that. I mean, I'm joking when I'm saying the Esteban Quiroz game, but like, congratulations to him for sticking with it and at least having, one day that he can say, I played at the major league level and I had a big game and I helped win a major league game. Not everybody can say that,
It's true.
Yeah, again, it's like he made it, this last 2 weeks aren't going to change probably his trajectory as a baseball player, but to just come up, when you're called upon, have some good games. Maybe he plays his way onto. I don't know if he's going to play his way onto a major league roster next season, but he's playing his way into sticking in baseball, sticking somewhere. And that's about all. When you're giving a guy a shot in the major leagues like that, to just play well enough to stick in baseball, like that's all you really need to see. Even if he's not going to stick with your organization or stick in your system, like that's. So this, like you said, Luke, just good for him. Good for him to have a game like he did today. Have a nice little stretch. Not hitting the cover off the ball or anything, but I think he's hitting 286 after tonight. Like, I think it was. I can look it up real quick, but it's like a 98 WRC plus, something like that. So just right around league average hitter in this last 6 games that he's been up. Yeah, it's just good. It's nice to see in a season where the Cubs are at 66 wins. Just nice to see someone getting to live their dream, playing in the major leagues and doing well for himself. Not gonna change the trajectory of his career, but finding a way to stick in baseball is really all you want to see for him. So yeah, good stretch for him.
Do you guys, I was thinking tonight, like, is it a long enough stretch for me now? Not that I was ever. I think David Bote's a nice guy. I think he also had a nice story, but I don't know that like that is going to make much of a difference on a team. Like people were talking about, we need to get Bote back. It's like, okay, like maybe you win an extra game because of Bote. I'm starting to like McKinstry more and more, and I could see him actually taking over the Bote role next season. Am I crazy to think that? Like if I'm comparing the two guys.
Not really.
Small sample size.
He's a lefty.
He's
a lefty. Makes more contact based off the eye test in my head, at least, and then can play just like Bote. He can play multiple positions, and he is younger. I'm pretty sure too.
Yeah, maybe not a ton, but yeah.
Well, the thing is like how will they just get rid of Bote? Like, it's not like I know he's on that extension or whatever, but like it's not like it's a ton of money. It's literally like what, $10-15 million. I don't know. Like to me, it's for this franchise, that's nothing. But I don't know. Like it's, I guess, to spin it positively for Bote, like he's right-handed, McKinstry's left-handed. Like maybe having both of them would be okay, but like again, like that takes another roster spot away. And how many of those types of players do you want? I don't know, especially when they're already loaded on the infield anyways. Like it'd be different if Bote could play the outfield some, but he mainly plays third or second base, right? And it's like,
and you have Morel.
McKinstry's playing, and you have Morel and McKinstry. I like McKinstry more at like short or second. He's played some third and he's had some blunders over there, some throwing errors, but so like I'm a little iffy on him over there, but at second and short, so up the middle, I don't mind him up there. And he's made some nice plays defensively, and he's been hitting the ball of late too. And I feel like we've seen enough of Bote. Like we know what he is. Like I think you already hit the ceiling with him, and I don't think you're going to get any more out of him that's better. So to me, it's like maybe you could throw him in a trade or something if you had to, or maybe do just cut ties. I don't know.
Yeah, David's saying it's 27 and 29, and I think their birthdays are both in April. So like they'll be 28 and 30 next year. So they're older guys. They're not young guys, but I'd rather take a guy that's 2 years younger and bats left-handed.
Yeah, and it's like we've kind of been saying, it's the couple of years probably makes a little bit of a difference. The fact that he's a lefty, and they have a lot of right-handed bats that can play multiple positions on this team or in the system. Like that's, if you're probably going with one of who the Cubs might keep around, it's probably McKinstry. He's been hitting better in September too. Like he's picked it up a little bit. He was the first month or so that they had him. He was not hitting well at the plate, and this last month he's doing a little bit better at the plate, putting together hits, good at bats. I mean, playing good defense. It's just I really think the lefty versus righty thing probably is the biggest difference maker between those two.
They're so heavy at right-handed hitters.
Yeah, that's the thing.
At right-handed hitters, right? So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I mean, I think we all kind of agree. Like, if you had to choose between the two guys, even though the sample size is small, right?
Yeah.
That most likely we'd all lean, just age alone and left-handed, I'd lean towards McKinstry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's just where it's at. Like, McKinstry just has a couple years. He's a lefty that can play the same positions as Bote. It's just there's small things like that, like not. I mean, and then it's not like either one has like stepped out in front of the other with play on the season, but it's just like the things that McKinstry brings to the table just probably fit better with where the Cubs roster is at this point.
Yeah,
I think I've said this at the office about Bote. Like, Bote would have been like, if the Cubs wouldn't have had these issues with their minor league system in like 2019, 2020, like, he would have been the perfect guy that they could have thrown in a trade and just get the highest value, because he had such a great 2018 that people might have actually really wanted him, and going into 2019 or something like that would have reminded me a lot of like the Allen Craig trade with the Cardinals and the Red Sox a while ago. Like just that's what the Cardinals do. They like get these random dudes. They'll play well for a little bit when they actually aren't that good, and then they'll move them for like something crazy. And then that guy goes on and sucks wherever he goes. Like, that's what I think about David Bote. I'm just saying, like, he was good for a year with the Cubs, and then since then he's just been like a utility guy at best, and he can't stay healthy. Like, I don't know. That's just how I feel about him. So that's why I'm like, we cut ties with him. Maybe McKinstry gives you a little bit better bat. Plus, he's left-handed. Like, makes some cool defense. He wears glasses. I don't know.
David Elliott with a good chat note here. $4 million for Bote coming in 2023, $5.5 million in 2024. All right, $9.5 million. I mean, you eat it and walk away if you're talking about wanting to make sure. If you're talking about how valuable these spots are in the 40-man roster, and we're talking about how are we gonna juggle this? To me, that's one you can decide, and you can eat the money and walk away from that.
Yeah, I mean, they're eating 20-something million to have Hayward not play for them next year. Like,
right.
It's what's 9.5? Especially
9.5 onto it.
Especially if it's over 2 years. It's not 9.5 next. It's a spread over 2 years. I would assume, right? So at 9.5 million they just want to release him. I would assume they'd probably try to trade him at the minimum,
trade him because and they might have to pay the money to get a low-level prospect back.
Yeah. But if it's about just cutting ties with him and eating the 9.5 million, I think the Cubs could stomach that. I think they could stomach a $9.5 million check.
They saved it this season. I don't want to get Michael going, but that's probably what happened.
He just appeared in the chat. Welcome in, Michael. Right on cue.
I saw Jordan Bastian and some of the writers with updates injury-wise before the game, saying Steele is going to throw a bullpen session the next few days. Wilson Contreras back to full baseball activities, including running the bases, and that Nico Hoerner was supposed to run the bases before this game in Pittsburgh, game 2 of the series. So the only one that, again, I've kind of said how I feel about Steele and Wilson and Hoerner, but the only one that it looks like Nico's going to come back. If he's throwing and he's running, and I think Wilson certainly wants to be back for that final homestand at Wrigley Field. If once again it is the final homestand at Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
I just don't need – I know Thompson had I don't need Steele to come back. Yeah. I don't need him to pitch anymore.
Yeah,
That's all I have to say about that. Like, I'm Forrest Gump. I've said it 1,000 times. I don't
scream it for the people in the back, Luke.
Life is like a box of chocolates, and you never know what you're going to get. And I don't need Steele to pitch again. Yeah. That's all I got to say about that.
I get that idea, and I'm totally with you. If you're like, if they're rushing to get him back just to say they got him back and pitching again this season, like that's beyond. That's just a hard no. But if he's 100%, like again, they're not risking him re-aggravating that injury. He's 100% and wants to play. Like, just let him play. let him pitch because, I mean, just I don't know. Again, just getting to the end of the season is valuable for guys. There's benefits in that, but obviously, again, don't just have him come back just to say he came back and pitched again. Like, if he's not bouncing back well, the recovery timeline just isn't there, then don't let someone else take his innings. But if he wants to come back and he's good to go, trainers clear him, all that good stuff, let him play. I say let him play.
Let the guy play. Oh, by the way, I see I'm getting messages on my phone that Joey is jumping in the chat saying that I deserve triple points for the Quiroz pick. Huh?
He's jumping in the Slack channel.
Yeah, he's in the Slack channel. He's not. Channel. Oh no, he's on my phone. I can't keep all the electronics straight. But I didn't have to pull any tweets today. I didn't have any typos,
that's good.
Photograph mistakes or send it to the wrong person. None of that stuff because mostly I was barely conscious, so I wasn't tweeting as much.
good for you, Stuck. You did tweet that one the tweet about who's the biggest bust in Chicago sports.
Yeah, I tweeted what we were talking about as we were walking off the set last night, and I said, are the Sox in 22 the biggest team bust in Chicago sports since the 04 Cubs? And I think most people are agreeing. Some people have jumped in and said, well, what about the 07 and 08 Cubs? And I would compare 07 and 08 Cubs to more like last year's White Sox. At least they all made the playoffs. They were busts. They didn't win a series, but at least they made the postseason. This Sox team is like, and in some ways they're worse than the 04 Cubs because after the way 03 ended, I think most Cubs fans expected them to fall on their face the next year. It was so devastating. Like everybody, it was such a gut punch that I don't think most people were surprised it didn't go as well the next year.
I was so young at that time, but I do remember I actually didn't have as much excitement going to 04. And I think just because what happened in 03 just really mentally broke my heart more than anything I had ever experienced in my life at that point. That's not even an exaggeration.
03 losing in 03 was almost like dry heaves. Like people were dry heaving in their living room if they weren't actually vomiting. They were dry heaving.
Like the Sheldon Cooper. I'm not the biggest Big Bang Theory fan, but the gif of Sheldon breathing into the bag or whatever. That was that. Yes. So yes, I guess in 04 there weren't necessarily as near no one there were expectations. There were actual people who went into that season thinking maybe the Red Sox and Cubs could be playing in the World Series that year, but I don't know. From just based off my memory, it's kind of yeah, they have the roster, but will they actually do it? No one actually believes it.
Yeah.
Robbie said he worked as an usher that year at Wrigley.
04.
Oh, nice.
I was even younger than Cody was in 04. I was that whole season was I didn't turn 8 till that September in 04. So I was pretty young. For some reason the name Nefi Perez pops into my head, and he was good that year, in 25 games.
First name to remember,
whatever it was.
But he was a scrappy player, and Ryan likes scrappy players. That's why he loves Madrigal so much.
Man. 04. I mean, he was good in 04 though, wasn't he?
I love Madrigal so much.
I know he was good in 04. I know Nefi Perez was good in 04, and then the next couple of years really wasn't. But no, 04.
I love the chat now.
Because going into 04, there was weren't they on the Sports Illustrated cover? They're gonna end the drought this year or something like that, end the curse.
I can't remember. Perhaps I remember when Kosuke Fukudome was on the Sports Illustrated cover, which by the way he retired today.
I saw the video that Ryan put that in the Slack.
Yes.
How there was a big chunk of Cubs stuff, and Matt Merton spoke Japanese in it, and was like, "You're my favorite teammate from both countries." It was pretty Oh, man, look at this. By the way, Glenn now chiming in. Got to agree, Stuckey gets extra points. He took the biggest risk. Straight from the gut, he caught the vibe. I couldn't say it better than that.
I'm assuming Glenn is Stuckey's like burner YouTube account.
Yeah, probably. I love how Stuckey.
I don't know Glenn.
Stuckey only reads, he only like reads out what the chat says when it works in his favor.
Yes, absolutely.
Slack Corey Friedman, absolutely triple points.
He's not biased at all.
3 or 4 people.
He's not biased at all.
Especially because I said it as I was making the pick. Like, this is a triple point. This is like putting all of my chips in. It's like when you're in Vegas and you're like, well, I got $5 left. Here it is. This is all of it. I don't know how I'm getting home if I don't win. Put it all on red 7 and you spin the wheel.
But it's not like you were going to lose 3 points for doing it. Like, we're not taking 4 points away from Cody.
The respect of everyone. If the entire world, the Who You Got world was going to see that pick and be like, he's given up all hope. He's given up all hope in life. He went with Quiroz tonight for the Who You Got pick. Instead, it was bold. It was beautiful.
It wasn't even bold. He's had a good week. It's not even as bold as, honestly, Cody's pick is probably bolder.
Robbie says my story sounds like it really happened. No. I've actually only been to Vegas for like 2 days in my whole life for work. Red 7.
David says CHGO fans can't see the Slack. Well,
that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. I promise you.
That's why I'm reading you the Slack comments. 100%. Yeah, absolutely triple points. Got to give him triple points. What a pick by Quiroz.
I love how you're like reading Joey and Corey's comments, and you, in the way that you're saying them, doesn't sound like any way that I would hear Joey or Corey say them.
They're like reviews from the New York Times for Broadway shows. Cody, what are you betting on this weekend? I know you got the itch. You were sweating. How's that been working out for you?
Oh man, I already won one bet just during the show, so I'm 1-0 in my last one. Hopefully it'll be 3-0 in my last 3 going into the deep night before I ride 10 more bets tomorrow. But tomorrow, I do love Michigan minus 16.5. Michigan minus 16.5 against Maryland. I think they're gonna cream them like they did last year. So with that said, PointsBet, guys, this football season, PointsBet is bringing you a better way to bet live on games, which means before this ad is over, you can place a live same game parlay, bet on the next drive to be a touchdown, and cash out your live second half over bet. With PointsBet, you have access to more live football markets than ever before. Build the perfect live same game parlay by combining your favorite bets anytime during the game, including spreads, totals, player props, and more. Choose the outcome of the next drive and the next points with PointsBet Lightning Bets. So whether you are on the move or on the couch, do it live with PointsBet. Download the PointsBet app today and sign up with code CHGO to get your first 2 bets risk-free up to $2,000. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER for crisis counseling and referral services. Also, if Jalen Johnson and Roquan Smith do not play on Sunday, perhaps bet the Texans.
What about I heard somebody say James Madison +7 against Appalachian State. What do you think of that?
Little fun belt
as well.
Because they've won so many close games that they're going to be just empty, you know.
App State's pretty good though. I don't know. That's one that I lean away from, honestly.
You're leaning away. All right, I'll listen to you. I'll stay away from it. Although I was,
I give you a better pick. I do love Oregon State +5.5 against USC. That's a little Pac-12 after dark action for you tomorrow night, Stuckey. You could just place the bet and then go to sleep because I know you go to bed pretty early.
Then, yeah, exactly.
Then you can wake up with a winner and you just feel real happy.
Now, again, I have advice for you guys this weekend, and that is the GameTime app, especially if you're going to our first ever CHGO Bears Tailgate. Michigan and Roosevelt. Go to allchgo.com. Get your tickets, $34. Beers included, booze is included, food is included. You're right near the stadium if you're going to go, or you just head to the bars afterwards with some of the people that don't have tickets. I know that Cody and Ryan do not have tickets to the game, but they're going to be watching that GameTime app. See, they're still thinking, well, what if it's 65? What if it's 65 degrees on Sunday at like 11 o'clock? and I can find the best deals. Well, the GameTime app is the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to secure the best deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. If you've ever dreamed about sitting in a seat at maybe the 50-yard line, courtside, behind home plate, that kind of thing, right in front of the band, well, it's possible with the GameTime app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on seats you thought you could never buy, sometimes up to 60% off. You won't find a better deal this season on Cubs or Bears tickets created by fans for the fans, and they guarantee the lowest price. So if you love CHGO, you're going to love GameTime. The best way to support us right now is to use that ticket link at the bottom of our podcast and in the YouTube description. In the descriptions, join over 15 million people who have downloaded the GameTime app and saved on the best seats to all your favorite events. Like, I haven't heard anybody say a bad thing about it. Like, the Sox guys have been using it more than anybody. Like, they went a lot here in this last homestand, and they had incredible tickets for, like, literally nothing. They basically almost got paid to go to the game. Right? Like, I mean, they were like less than $10, and they were sitting in good seats.
Yeah.
And I would imagine you'll be able to get some of that for the last homestand at Wrigley Field too.
Yeah,
but
I went to the game. I went to Wrigley last weekend, right? Yeah, I went to Wrigley last weekend.
Yeah.
I think sat in the bleachers. I went with me and my girlfriend. We sat for, I think it was around 37. That's after taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
not
bad. Around $10 to $15 or so. Those Chicago taxes are the worst, but yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Robbie said he had no clue that was an ad, Luke.
Thanks. I appreciate that. That's probably worth another point. I'm like 2 points up on Cody now. You had in the Maverick pick and 3 from tonight. That's 4. I was down 2. Now I'm up 2.
You're Luke, not Maverick though.
Sure.
Maverick is separate.
Maverick was given the point based on the vibe.
Maverick is in here. He's in your heart, Cody.
Yeah, all of our hearts, exactly. All of our.
Robbie also said in the chat earlier that his fake ID name in college was Assad. Kevin threw that in the Slack channel and said that was the comment of the week. So shout out to Robbie for having the comment of the week.
The weekly superlatives.
You know how like athletes use the a fake name to stay in a hotel. We should start using Javier Assad. Next time you stay in a hotel, just going, what's your name, sir? Javier Assad?
No. Ravi Assad.
Ravi Assad. Okay.
Ravi
that'll work
Assad.
too.
There you go.
I have an update. Obviously, anyone who watched in the eighth inning, or maybe it was the ninth inning, Patrick Wisdom's ejection.
Yeah.
So this is from Megan Montemurro of the Chicago Tribune, tweeted it out 13 minutes ago. Patrick Wisdom was, quote, absolutely, end quote, surprised by ejection tonight. After striking out, he told home plate ump he didn't like his call on first pitch of AB as he walked away. Quote, given the circumstances, I feel like I'm allowed to voice my opinion on a call. He obviously didn't like it, end quote. I tweeted it out, but I watched that multiple times, like just going back, and I could tell like he was a little irked by the first pitch, but like when he was walking, I watched like him, the strikeout and him walk off the field. He didn't even directly look at the home plate umpire and say anything to him. He like maybe he like said something, but he was always. I mean, it wasn't like it felt like a very quick toss. Like it wasn't. It didn't look like he was trying to show up an umpire at all. He didn't get in his face. He didn't even look at him, and he got tossed. And you could tell he was like surprised. He's like, "What the hell?" As he like turned around and like heard that he was getting tossed. I mean, I don't know. It was kind of bizarre to me because it didn't feel like him showing up an umpire. If he said something that he didn't like a call, and why aren't like players should be allowed to say, hey, I didn't like the call.
Right.
But yeah, it was bizarre.
Wasn't Laz Diaz the home plate umpire tonight?
Yes, I think so, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I do remember Dempster saying the same thing as Ryan was just talking about, though. Like everybody watching at home, there was no way to even tell that he had said anything. So there was no way to say, you could say like, hey, you were showing me up. It's just like literally like the letter of the law, like no arguing balls and strikes. But at that point, he's not really arguing it. He's walking away, going back, and he's saying like, "Yeah, he had a horrible swing also on the last strike." So it's like,
Ryan
just
Willis.
let the guy walk away and mutter something under his breath. Like, who cares?
Yeah, Ryan Wills was the
Ryan Wills.
Ryan Wills.
Yeah,
Ryan Wills.
I just looked it up.
Yeah, not a good look for Ryan's today in that moment.
Yeah, tough look for Ryan's.
Yeah,
Laz Diaz was at third though, so I was kind of close.
I'm sure he made some mistakes too. Did you guys see that the Steelers have already said they are sticking with Mitchell Trubisky? They're
Mitch
not
is our quarterback.
Mitch is our quarterback. We've heard it many, many times, right? Which Cub are you sticking with? And I'll ask this to the chat too. Which Cub are you sticking with for next season that many others might be ready to move on from at this point?
I'll go first. And this is might be a little bit more recency bias, but so many people are done with Patrick Wisdom. They've been done with Patrick Wisdom all season, man. And I think that he's going to be on the Cubs anyway because he's cheap and because he hits homers and he's versatile. There's the three reasons right there why he's going to be on the Cubs next year. Like some guy replied to the CHGO Cubs Twitter account tonight to one of our tweets. I think it was we quote tweeted the Patrick Wisdom homer that he hit tonight. Said something like, I asked, would anyone like a Patrick Wisdom, Matt Mervis platoon at first base next season? And I was actually kind of shocked. Like majority of people that replied said no. Like they're like no. And maybe it's because
said he should have been gone with Frank. Like
there was one guy who said that he should have been gone with Frank, and I'm like, how could you say that? Like, how can you with a straight face say that if you look at both their numbers? And he said something about how he strikes out, and I replied, well, the shift is gone next year, so that'll help. And then I know the one thing that we can always get upset about is the strikeouts. And I looked it up, and this year he leads baseball in strikeout rate at 33%. It is lower than last year. I'll give him credit there. Last year he was striking out 40% of the time. This year it's down to 33. It's apples and oranges, not that much different. But it'd be different if like he was straight up like not being productive at all. And I thought before the injury he had like sliding into the base or whatever, like he was fine, especially when they transitioned him over to first base. I thought he was fine over there. I just think that because he's versatile and he has power, I think that there's value in that. I think if you have him on a team where he's not like in the middle of your lineup every single day, there is significant value there. I think he's a really good role player and he can have value from all across the diamond. And I just don't know why anyone would be done with him after the year that he's had. Again, it hasn't been anything spectacular, but it's been fine. It hasn't been like, it's not like he's been Jonathan VR. You know what I mean? Like he's been fine. Yeah. He's been, and his numbers would probably be better if he didn't have that injury. And other than that injury, he was a fine player. I understand that sometimes he's made some defensive blunders, but who like, there's not every player is Nico Horner. I'm sorry. Like, again, you're not paying the guy much of anything at all, and you're getting 24 home runs out of him, which basically leads his team. Like, I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. As a role player, again, I am just emphasizing role player. Like that, you can't. It's going to be hard to find a better role player for that at the price that he is at.
Yeah. Well, and then to go, to your point of like Wisdom, you're talking about his strikeouts and bringing the strikeouts down from 40% to 33% on the year. Since Cody, I'm realizing May 17th was a pretty big day. I know. So that was a big day in history. That was you. That was Morel's debut day. Hughes' debut also. That was also the day that Wisdom started using the new knob.
That's right.
The same day.
He had a magic knob for a while.
and since
the knob
that
jokes
day,
are back, baby.
Since that day, that K rate, 31.2%. That's not including today. Not updated for today, but 31.2% going. So I guess from May 17th going into today. He was walking at about an 11.6% clip. The WRC plus is above average, like 107, so it's not like otherworldly, but it's above average. He plays good enough defense. I know he's had like a few errors that he wasn't making last year, that he's made this year, but I think overall he provides versatility. You saw him in right field the other day making a couple good catches. I agree. He was actually the one I was thinking. So if he didn't go first, I was going to pick Wisdom. But it's like Wisdom is, if he's a guy that, even if he's not a starter next year, depending on who gets brought in, he's a guy that's going to move all around the diamond for you. Well, third and first, and then can play corner outfields. Maybe not Gold Glove caliber, but capable defense will make the plays he should make, right? And then surprise you with the sliding or diving catch like he did a couple days ago. But he'll play good enough defense. He has an above, as even if it's only slightly above average bat overall, because obviously he brings a lot of pop in the bat. He's gonna I would assume be over 25 home runs this year, which again is good. I don't get the desire to move on from Wisdom. I think he's a guy with few years left of club control. He's a guy that you can move around the diamond. He's a guy that brings power, which you don't have a lot of. He's a solid role player. He's not going to be a star for this team, but he's a solid role player. And
if you have, theoretically, the Cubs, sign a star shortstop, infielder, whatever you want to call them, and do make significant moves in the offseason and put on paper what looks like a good team, and you have a guy like Patrick Wisdom, he's not someone that you will play every single day. He was someone that you probably put in the lineup against lefties, and someone that you definitely put in when you want to give a guy a day off, whether that's at first or at third base. That, and that's fine. And you can DH him if you absolutely need to, or if you just go he's hitting better than someone else, because every player goes through a slump. You know what I mean? That's what you need in a 162 game season. People just kind of act like, oh, you have your opening day lineup, and that's all you're going to play with all season. It feels like sometimes when we talk about certain guys related to Patrick Wisdom, it's like you need baseball players who have shown value throughout their course of their career. You need them. You just need them. And then the bonus is the ones who come up from the minors that you're hoping are good, but play better than you expect. And if they don't play well, then that might affect your team. But guys like Patrick Wisdom can really change the course of the team in terms of certain parts of a season if you sustain an injury. And what if he, how he goes on those little hot streaks? He could have one of those during a moment where a guy gets hurt. That's kind of the thing. And the point is, if you just have guys, that's the thing. You need good baseball players. I think Luke has said it multiple times. You just need good baseball players. And no, he's not elite. He's not great. He's just very average, good, whatever you want to call it. It's just right there. He's a mid-tier level baseball player. And that's fine.
He does have a skill that the other utility guys, as you're saying, like somebody in the chat said, how many of these guys do you need? How many guys do you need that have this flexibility? He does play first, or he can play first. And he does have more power than any of those other versatile utility guys. The only trick would be is if what Cody's saying, if they have Correa, do you already have enough covering your infield with the Morels and McKinstry and Madrigal? How many of those guys can you keep in the infield and still have the luxury of having Wisdom be a guy that if something happens at some other position, you could move Correa or whoever back over to another position and then stick him at third, or stick him at first if it doesn't work out with Mash Mervis or whoever it might be.
Don't say that, Luke. People get angry with you.
I think there's a spot for him on the roster. I think so
depending
on if they sign one of these big guys and how much they like guys like McKinstry and guys like Morel. Morel gives you great flexibility, and that doesn't help. That doesn't help Wisdom. But I agree with you. I'm not ready to move on from him. My choice for that would be David Ross, because what I have seen late in this season, and I know it's not popular because it's hard to judge what the guy's going to be like when he's a manager of a good team. It's a bad team, and I can't give him a ton of fault for being a bad team because they're actually almost trying to lose with their roster, okay? So what I have seen is they haven't stopped trying. Like, they are playing hard for him. Unlike the other team on the other side of town where they were told early in the season, don't give 100%. Like, you don't hurt yourself if you don't have to on a play. That's not what I see, and I do see them going out. He's got guys that are trying to come back and play, even though I personally don't want to see him come back and play. And biggest of all, whether it's an organizational thing or it's the manager, but you have to attach some of it to the manager. We have seen player development from younger guys. You can't argue it. Like, you've seen it. Maybe you haven't seen it as much as you want from certain guys, but boy, you've seen it from Nico Horner. You've seen it from Steele. You've seen it from Thompson. You've seen it from Morel. Like, there have been enough guys that have developed that I know sometimes the chat gets angry and Twitter gets angry at David Ross. And I'm not saying he's the full-time answer long-term. I don't know that answer, but there's no way I'm ready to move on. There's no way I'm not willing to stick that out for a couple more years and find out, because what he can show us, he has shown us, in my opinion.
I think right now is just not the time to just nitpick in-game, managing decisions. Like, people will probably be pissed that he had Ullman go out there and for the save, and it's like, who's he gonna go with? Like, Brandon Hughes I think he rolled his ankle today. Like, what's he supposed to do? Like, they traded their four best relievers.
The stat was he was the 9th different Cub to get a save this year. Okay, what that tells you is you do not have a closer. It also tells you that you're not very good. And it also tells you that you're exploring, trying to find out how they will react in different situations.
That's the whole point. Is like, maybe Ullman's not the closer of the future, or who knows what his role is next year. But you're playing for 70 wins at this point. Like, give the guy a shot. Go see what he could do. It's the same with what they've done with Mark Leiter Jr. Letting him come in some safe situations. These are just guys that are trying to, find some footing in the big leagues. They're not top tier bullpen guys, but it's just everyone. It's what Ross is doing. Mixing the lineup it's similar to what it was early in the season, where it just wasn't the same every day. Guys were all over, up and down the lineup at different positions. That's just the hand he's dealt with what the roster construction is at this point in the season. And if you're trying to nitpick him playing, substituting someone as a pinch runner for, like, it's just not the season to do that. It's not, because he hasn't given the best talent to work with. So why? I don't know. I'm with you, Luke. I don't judge David Ross's anything that's happened this year. I don't put it on Ross, because you hear how well the players talk about him. You hear about, Nico Horner buying into what David Ross is selling. All these guys buying into what David Ross is selling. They all like him. He gets them up to keep playing, even though they're still in the 60s in wins, when they still have to win 4 more games to hit 70. Like, he is getting them up, and they're competing every game. And people laugh at that and whatever, but it's true that guys, major league players could just kind of check out at the end of the season when there's nothing to play for. And from what we've seen, guys aren't doing that. And that part of that is David Ross getting them up every game to play, try to win. Because at the end of the day, that's his job, is to get wins. And, regardless of how well he's liked and how well he's not, whatever, at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to, did you win the games? Did you win? What was your win-loss record? Did you win? That's what it's always going to come down to. And I think David Ross, again, hasn't happened this year because he hasn't had the roster to do that with. Give him a roster that's built to make the playoffs. Give him a roster that's built to compete, and then see what he does. Then you nitpick the in-game decisions. Then you question what he does with his relievers. That's when you do it. But right now, it's just not. That's not the time. And I'm in agreement with what you said. It's just not. just so premature to say David Ross isn't the answer. I'm not saying he is or isn't. It's just, or not saying he is, but it's just way too early to say he's not, because he just really hasn't had a chance to prove what he is as a manager, as a first-time manager too.
That's true.
Yeah. No, I'm based off the chat. Everyone kind of left some comments about Mervis. I think a lot of people think that Mervis needs to, like, when they call him up, that he should just be your everyday first baseman every single day. And like, I can probably get on board with that, but I also like know how young players work in terms of like maybe you want to ease them in. So that's why I brought up the whole maybe you could platoon him with Wisdom just because he's a lefty and Wisdom's a righty. So I just wanted to clear that up. But again, like, I wouldn't mind if they played Mervis every single day next year. Like, whenever they call him up, at least. I mean, to me, he's played well enough to where he deserves to be on the opening day roster. I mean, at this point, the only reason he hasn't been called up is just because of the time clock on his control, I assume. But like, like, why call him up now whenever the season's over? You know what I mean? Might as well just call him up when the season matters. So yeah, but yeah, no, I'm with you guys in terms of David Ross. Like, I've been on that thing all season.
Yeah,
like,
I think we've all been on that train.
It's very
other names that I was thinking of, Cody. Like, tell me if there's any others that just jump in. We don't have to go too deep in it, but I was thinking I'm not ready to give up on Killian because he's had some trouble early in his career at the major league level. Don't like not moving on. Don't stop thinking that Killian, he could be an answer here.
McKinstry's another type of guy like that too. Like, he's kind of been tossed into that like controversial spot, like how we were all complaining about Ortega for the last 2 months. You know, like, people were done with McKinstry after a month because he struggled that first month being a Cub, and now in September he's starting to show the value that he has. And we just talked about him and Bote, and like, to me, I feel like he deserves a spot, at least a chance to make the roster going into spring training next year. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just someone I cut ties with.
I was gonna say my pick was Madrigal. Like, I think that's obvious. Like, I'm not giving up on Madrigal, and I don't think anyone should. Yeah, the fact that he didn't. I mean, again, that month, when he came back in August and was around for a little over a month, had a good month. It wasn't like lighting the world on fire, but it was a good month. Gave you a little bit of hope, and now he's hurt again. So I get the sentiment. It was like he's just not cut out to. Well, no, actually, I don't get that. I think he can be a good major league player. Obviously, health is number one, because the best availability is availability, right? The fact that he just has been now the third long stretch on the injured list this year is concerning. And I think it's sincere when he said after this last time, or no, when he went on the injured list this time, that he's taking a good hard look at his plans. He's talking to people that that have done it before, that he can get ideas from as far as how to take care of himself, how to work on his body this offseason, his nutrition, whatever it is, to make sure his body can hold up to the grind of a 162 game season. So I'm not throwing the book out on Nick Madrigal because of this year. Yeah, you wanted to see him healthy and see what he could do. It didn't happen, but he could still be a good major league player. I believe that because he's, at least hitting wise, has always been a really good hitter at any level he's been at. He's a good defender. He wasn't a bad defender at all this year. Maybe he doesn't have the range, and that's going to hurt with the shift. But he could he could play a capable second defense, I would say. Not Gold Glove, but capable. And I think he can just be a good player at the major league level. He's not going to be your all-star. He's not going to lead a team to the World Series, but he's just I don't know. I keep thinking it, and I want to give him this offseason to get and really change what he does to make sure his body can hold up, because if next season he's hurt the whole year too, then it's a different story, because it's really 3 straight years that he'd have been dealing with injuries. So then you start to question it.
the Cubs need one of those two guys from the Kimbrel trade to find a way to be healthy, man. They need it.
Becky says in the chat, like, don't forget about Cody Hoyer just because he's injured. You know, that's another one. I don't think anybody's giving up on him, but also don't forget about him. And by the way, hi Debbie, thanks for the kind comments about the chat. Welcome. A reminder again to everybody, we have the tailgate party coming on Sunday, the first one ever, 8 to noon. $34 covers your booze, your beer, your food, a DJ,
vibes. Get to hang with the
CHGO group, and then you can go to the Bears game, or you guys can go hang out at a bar. If you're going to the game, or if you don't have a ticket for the game, GameTime is the way to go. Like, use the GameTime app, sit there, wait with it. It's the new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to get your best deals, especially last-minute deals on sports, concerts, whatever you want to go to, and you get those killer deals on unbelievable seats. You know, maybe it's 50-yard line on Sunday at the Bears-Texans game, so you want to see Lovie Smith so close, you can just grab the gray beard when you're turning you around, you know? Like, you want to be right there. The deal is you go to the tailgate, you get the GameTime app, and you sit there and you just wait it out. You're patient. You wait to pounce on the ticket, and then boom, guaranteed lowest price. You grab the ticket, you walk right from that tailgate, 10-minute walk across Grant Park to Soldier Field. Boom, you're in there. It's supposed to be a really, really nice day on Sunday. Might be a great chance to try out that app. I'm just saying it. If you like CHGO, you're going to love GameTime. Best way to support us through the link in the podcast and YouTube descriptions. Make sure you do it. More than 15 million people have downloaded this app. Highly recommended by one Herb Lawrence. Can't get more verified than that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Herb says it's the way to go.
I agree.
What's Ravi saying now?
He says maybe someone got some weed at the tailgate. Add that to your read, Luke.
Ravi, are you going to the tailgate? Why are you trying to suggest that?
He said he's having Kinko's deliver a cardboard cutout of himself, so he's there in spirit. Love to have everyone that joins the chat every day come to one of these tailgates.
Yeah, absolutely.
We should get some pictures of people in the chat and put them on the set, bring them on every once in a while. It's like, this is what Ravi's saying, and like on a popsicle stick.
Yeah. No, I'll be there. I'm bringing my girlfriend, and we're bringing a few of her friends. I think I got a few friends of my own that are coming, so I got a decent group of people that I know coming on top of everyone that I work with. So I'm excited, man. It's gonna be fun.
Nobody has tickets, right? You're considering the game, using the GameTime app, and
we are considering. Yeah, definitely.
I want this. If I'm going to go to the game, it's going to be my first GameTime purchase. So see how it goes.
I mean, that's a good one to make for sure. And then, Cody, you're going to do, what's the game you're going to go and have people hang out? Maybe GameTime app people too at the Cubs homestand?
Yeah, we haven't
Friday,
even like
maybe?
really. Yeah, it's next Friday. We haven't even really started announcing this or talking about it.
But you're thinking about it, right? Like, that's an idea that's floating around.
Yeah. So next Friday is the last Friday 120 game of the year at Wrigley. So what I'm going to do, you know how we had the White Sox tailgate and now we're having this Bears tailgate. We didn't do anything for the Cubs this year. So basically it's going to be very like unofficial or anything, but I'll probably go to Murphy's a couple hours before the game on Friday. And anyone who wants to come meet up, and I'll probably sit in left field that day. So if anyone wants to come meet up, send me a DM or something, and we can hang out in left field, and just don't be weird. That's all I ask.
By the way, I was just kind of going through the standings when I was flipping through, like, to see how bad, when I was tweeting out is this Sox team the worst thing since the 04 Cubs? And I was going through the standings and I see that the Texas Rangers, who spent $500 million in free agency, like, we go through this in the chat literally every single day, like, spend money. And I don't disagree with any of it. Spend the money. It's just a good lesson in careful what we ask for this winter. Let's hope they don't spend the wrong money. because I didn't think those were necessarily bad signings, and maybe those guys aren't the reason the Rangers are losing, but they've invested $500 million in like 3 guys, and they have almost an identical record to the tanking Chicago Cubs, both on a push for 70. Like, it's like a half game difference, and they just spent $500 million. So in that small way, Rick is right. Like, you can't necessarily buy a championship because the Rangers tried to do it, but if you're smart, you can certainly mix it in with what you've got going on. I just hope they spend the right money and make the right deals.
Yeah. I mean, what's that? You look at the Sox just lost to the Tigers, so the Cubs officially have a better second half record than the Sox. It's just the decisions. Front office decisions are just absolutely important in this game.
I think for the White Sox, for their sake though, they're the opposite from the Rangers. Like, they didn't spend enough last offseason to put that team over the top. Like, they still have issues in right field. I know Andrew Vaughn made a nice catch tonight, but like, that guy is more of a first base type than right field, man. Like, they needed a full-time right fielder, and they got AJ Pollock, and he really didn't work out. But like, I don't think you can bank on a guy like AJ Pollock to take over the outfield and give you solid production, like at the point of his career that he was at coming into this year. Now, like, I mean, they did get good value for someone like Kimbrel, but I don't know. That, to me, they didn't spend enough. I thought they needed one more pitcher, and I also thought they needed to go get a right fielder. Yeah, like they just you ask me right now, do I think, if you were to ask me who's in the better spot, the Cubs or the White Sox, right now I would still say the White Sox, because you just don't know what's going on with the Cubs yet, right? We got to wait for the offseason play out. I might change my mind in February. We'll see.
Or in a year, or in just 1 year. Maybe, like you said, it could be way less than that. By the way, I don't see our good friend White Sox Paul telling anybody who's daddy right now. He hasn't been here to jump in the chat and say, Herb is your daddy.
It's been a while.
He hasn't been here. I don't know why.
I'm going to go on the next White Sox show. I'm going to go in the chat, and I'm going to be like, I don't know if White Sox Paul is here. He comes to the Cubs show all the time, and he slanders us. I'm just here to tell you I'm just here to tell you that hello. That I'll just be like, hey, we missed you at the Cubs show, man. Like, you've been you haven't been present for a while. You know what I mean?
He's been busy with other things.
That's right.
Yeah. Being depressed, probably.
Last thing. Was it the 114th anniversary of Merkel's boner?
Yeah. That was key that they got that in the broadcast.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Obviously, that's was key to the Cubs winning that 1908 World Series. I always love the reference because of how much the definition or how much the meaning of that phrase has changed in 100 years. Merkel's boner means something completely different as a phrase now than
it does.
In 1908. Oh yeah,
you don't say, Ryan.
So that's why I like bringing it up. But the Cubs won the World Series because of it. Well, partially because of the World Series.
And to think,
1908.
And to think, on that great anniversary, we also had the great Esteban Quiroz game in Chicago Cubs history. 2 for 4.
Where were you?
2 RBIs, a walk, flashing the leather all over the field. The Cubs win 6-5, and I was awarded 3 points in the Who You Got contest to take over the lead with just 11 games to go. Thanks
Luke
for checking out the CHGO Cubs postgame show podcast presented by PointsBet. Have a great weekend. Don't forget, Corey and Brendan will have the series recap for you coming up on Sunday night. Go Cubs and fly the W.